But Tortoise frowned. I think Porcupine meant to say mahogany wood, he responded, looking puzzled at Porcupine. Surprised, Porcupine responded, No, no, I meant what I said. We want Samal wood. It is much better for building boats. I think not, Porcupine, Tortoise said back. Mahogany wood is the superior type. Mr. Capybara looked back and forth at Tortoise and Porcupine, confused. Well, both are good for building boats if that is what you two gentlemen are planning to do. But I will give you two a moment to decide and I will be back, he told the two of them, smiling, and left. Porcupine folded his arms and looked at Tortoise. We have to use Samal wood, Tortoise. It is the better type of wood. No, no, Porcupine. Mahogany wood is the only way to good. Our boat won't be as good as if we use your type of wood, replied Tortoise. Porcupine felt his temper rising. How could Tortoise be so stupid? Tortoise was wrong, and he was right. He just knew it. Well, if you'd rather we build a trashy boat, then we can use your choice, Porcupine said angrily. A trashy boat? A trashy boat would be made out of your Samal wood, Tortoise retorted back. Porcupine burst out. Fine, have it your way, Tortoise. Have it your way by yourself. You can make your own boat out of your stupid wood, and I will make my own. Shocked, Tortoise yelled back, Okay, fine, and you'll see that I was right and you were wrong. He turned around and went to find Mr. Capybara. He was going to show Porcupine what an idiot he was for wanting to build a boat out of Samal wood. 15 minutes later, Tortoise looked at the pile of wood he had just purchased. Originally, Tortoise and Porcupine were each going to take an end of the wood and carry it back together. But now that he was alone, he was going to have to drag the whole pile back by himself. This was going to be long and tiring. Suddenly, Tortoise wondered if fighting over the type of wood was really that important, but he quickly pushed it aside. He was right and Porcupine was wrong. Porcupine, too, was tasked with carrying his own pile of wood back to his home. Across from him, he could see Tortoise busy by himself on his boat. Porcupine's back hurt, but he needed to start working too. Porcupine had drawn up the building plans together, but they had decided that Tortoise be the one to keep them. Now that they were no longer working together, he had to draw his own plans all over again for himself. This was going to set him back another few hours because he needed to make the measurements before he could cut the wood. Several hours later, the sun was setting. Tortoise was covered in sweat. In spite of how hard he had worked that day, he knew that he would have gotten at least double the amount of work if he were still working together with Porcupine. He looked at the frame of his boat. Did it really matter if the wood was mahogany or Samal? After all, a boat was still a boat, and the important thing was that it worked. Tortoise took a deep sigh. As much as he was tired, he also missed Porcupine. He had looked forward to building the boat together with Porcupine, but now Porcupine was building his own boat on his own side. A very frustrated Porcupine threw his papers on the ground and crawled into bed. Although he did not want to admit it, he knew that Tortoise was a big reason why their original plans were so good. Porcupine had great ideas, but Tortoise did all the calculations to make it possible. He had spent the entire day trying to write his own plans to make a boat, but nothing was coming together. He missed Tortoise. Together they had spent the whole summer talking about the things they would do together in their boat, but here he was, making his own boat. As Porcupine fell asleep, he decided that if building their boat out of mahogany wood meant having good building plans and getting his best friend back, then it was more than worth it. As Tortoise lay in bed, he decided that if building their boat out of Samal wood meant working faster and actually enjoying the time with Porcupine again, then it was more than worth it. The following day, Tortoise made his way to where Porcupine was having breakfast. Porcupine looked up, startled to see Tortoise because he thought Tortoise was still angry at him from yesterday. Look, Porcupine, Tortoise started. I'm sorry for how I talked to you yesterday. I was upset about the wood, but it didn't mean I had to yell at you like that. Porcupine nodded his head and replied, Me too, Tortoise. I'm sorry for talking to you like that. Look, if you're willing to work together again, we can use mahogany wood if you'd like. Samal wood isn't all of what I made it sound to be. Tortoise smiled big and said, No, no, Porcupine, let's use your Samal wood. Mahogany isn't all that special. Well, why don't we use both? Suggested Porcupine, grinning wide. 3 days later, two very happy animals stood side by side with each other, looking at a beautiful boat made of both mahogany and Samal wood. I'm glad we built this together, Porcupine, Tortoise said. Me too, Tortoise. Me too, Porcupine replied. The end.